We have one more visitor just entering. So good morning, everybody. Good afternoon to Germany. My name is Birgitta Rausch-Montoro. Everybody knows me. It's Gita on FIU's campuses. I'm the director for FIU Global, and I particularly focused on FIU's global strategy and supporting our faculty in pursuing their academic goals. And so a Humboldt experience, I think, would be something quite phenomenal. And I'm really pleased that we have two guests from the Humboldt Foundation joining us from Bonn, Germany, Ms. Julia Sieben and Mr. Christian Langer. Both are program officers with the foundation, and I'm grateful for the time they will spend with us to walk us through the program and to answer your questions. I'm also pleased to welcome three FIU faculty members who themselves are Humboldtians. They weren't just Humboldtians, they will be Humboldtians for life. And those are Wasim Masiak, Whitney Baumann, and Jörg Reinhold, who each can introduce themselves as they will speak about their experience with their Humboldt Fellowship or their Humboldt Award. So a quick run through the agenda this afternoon. We will, after the introduction and housekeeping items, we will hear from Julia, who has prepared some slides of particular interest with programs that are of particular interest to US faculty, right, American faculty. And she will focus mostly on fellowships, although there are also some prizes that the Humboldt Foundation offers to American scholars, and Christian is an expert in this area, so he will be available to answer any questions that might come up for those. And then I asked Whitney, Wasim, and Jörg to talk about their perspective, their experience, so that they can infuse their experience on what the Humboldt Award did for their academic career. We'll hear about 5 minutes from each, just to get different perspectives from different scholars, different scientific areas. There's religious studies, which Whitney represents, and I believe it's epidemiology for Wasim, and physics for Jörg. And we'll open the floor for Q&A, for questions at the end, although I think we're okay with, because it's a small group, we're okay with questions in between. I will monitor the chat and help with maybe throwing out a question here and there so that those get answered promptly. We have the full hour. Please feel free to chime in on the chat. I always like to have lively engagement rather than a one-way conversation. Just a reminder again, we're recording this so that it's available for others after the event. Of course, the slides will be available to everybody afterwards. And as far as I understand, Julia and Christian also will be available for any follow-up questions from your end afterwards. So their contact information will be shared. All right, without further ado, I will vacate the microphone and I will hand it over to Julia. Julia, thank you very much. I'm looking forward to your presentation.
Thank you, Gita. Yeah, thank you very much for having Christian and myself today, and for giving us the opportunity to present the Humboldt Foundation's research funding schemes to you at the International University of Florida. Yeah, my name is Julia Sieben. I received my MA from the University of St Andrews in Scotland back in 2005, and have been enjoying working at the Humboldt Foundation in various positions and departments since 2007 already. That's a long time, but I'm really enjoying it. Today I will present you some of the core fellowship and award schemes at a glance, while the foundation's portfolio, of course, is much wider. But as Gita already said, I will rather focus on the ones which are potentially interesting and relevant for you as postdocs or more experienced researchers, and also members of your faculties. I'm also very glad to send our regards here from us at the Humboldt Foundation to Professor Wasim Maciak, Professor Whitney Baumann, and Professor Jörg Reinhold. And of course, I'm also curious, or we are also curious to learn in which sense the support from Humboldt has influenced your career, your research career, and maybe also your personal experiences, and yeah, and share your experience with today's audience. And maybe there's also feedback you may wish to give us. Yeah, I'm here today together with my colleague Christian, who is responsible for the award programs. And yeah, as Gita already said, we are very happy to answer questions in between my talk or after my presentation in the Q&A session. Yeah, AVH, the Humboldt Foundation, sponsors academic cooperation between, yeah, as you could say, top flight foreign and German academics. The foundation, as it is today, in its today's form, was founded in 1953, and our headquarter is located in Bonn-Bad Godesberg, where all the embassies used to be based before they moved to Berlin. But there we still have a small office also. So some of I think nowadays we are about 280 colleagues, 270 working in Bonn and maybe 7 in Berlin, and some commute or yeah. At the heart of the foundation's principles lies the idea of supporting people and researchers rather than projects, and to contribute to international understanding, of course. The foundation or the Humboldt family, or here, yeah, you can see, of course, as we were already talking about, once a Humboldtian, always a Humboldtian, you will have access to the Humboldt family for a lifetime. You will be invited to networking events, and you will be surrounded by 3,000 alumni all over the world. The Humboldt family is at home in more than 140 countries. Annually, 950 awards and fellowships are granted every year, and 2,300 research stays as well. Sometimes when we go to networking events, or when we talk to some colleagues in I already heard people saying, it's nice because we knew he or she was really doing great. So because, for example, we have 61 Nobel laureates, but many of them received a Humboldt Prize or another award from Humboldt before they received their Nobel Prize. Again, it's very important to the Humboldt Foundation that an individual researcher is supported rather than a project. So it's not possible to submit your research proposal and then say later on, okay, we change who will lead the project. But the individual scientist submits is on the focus, so his or her academic achievement so far, plus the research proposal, which is submitted in the application. And also, of course, very strongly supported by the host institute, which had been chosen in Germany by the applicant. The main and most important selection criterion is the academic excellence. There's no quotas, neither for countries, nor disciplines, nor gender. And all researchers are absolutely free to choose where they would like to go in Germany. It's very important that you give good reasons in your application why you choose a specific location, a specific university, a specific host, and why you think it will be the most promising surrounding for the successful realization of your research stay. Of course, equal opportunities are also very important, also in the application process already, in the application phase, and also later when it comes to being sponsored. For example, if you wish to apply for a postdoc fellowship, the restriction is 4 years after the completion of your PhD. But if you had a child or two after your doctorate, after your PhD, you will have 2 extra years to be added on top. That's like a we don't ask for any. It's like you have 2 extra years per child to extend this 4-year limit, or also likewise in the program line for experienced researchers, these years will be added to the 12 years. And also, alumni sponsorship, you will be invited to various alumni events. Also, the alumni associations run their own events, and both scientific ones, but also social gatherings. And research location Germany. It's becoming, we feel, more and more international. It has been very international for quite a while, but it's at the moment when we have and of course we very much welcome international cooperation, and there's networks at universities of all the international offices at the universities and research institutions have been setting up welcome centers to welcome international researchers and their families. And we have approximately 100 universities comprising all research disciplines. Then we do have the Max Planck Institutes, Fraunhofer, Helmholtz, and Leibniz. Of course, you're always very welcome to get in touch with them directly, or maybe some of your colleagues are already in touch, but you can also contact us, and we make connections. Moving on to the sponsorship opportunities. There is the fellowship schemes and the awards, to put it in these 2 categories. For a fellowship, you will have to submit an application, whereas the award schemes are based on a nomination procedure. So you need to have a colleague from Germany who will nominate you for an award, and then depending on and then you will be invited. Of course, we would then also love you to come to Germany, but I think it's not a must. But Christian will tell you more about it later. At a glance, postdocs can apply up to 4 years after the completion of your doctorate of their PhD. Experienced researchers in the program line of experienced researchers up to 12 years both in the Humboldt Research Fellowship program that's open for all countries, apart from Germany, of course, all countries worldwide. Georg Forster is exactly the same type of fellowship, but it's restricted to developing and threshold countries. Then we do have the Max Planck Humboldt Research Award up to 15 years after completion of your PhD, and the Friedrich Wilhelm Bessel Research Award, as well as the Humboldt Research Award, Georg Forster, and we say AHP, the Alexander von Humboldt Professorship. The Lünen Fellowship is a program where scholars and scientists from Germany apply for a research stay, for example, in the US. And the host needs to have been sponsored through Humboldt Foundation before. So you go to a Humboldt alumni, you select a Humboldt fellow as your host. Exactly. I think this is pretty straightforward. Also, the application procedure. I also used to work with funding schemes in collaboration with the EU Commission, for example. I think compared to these, an application, the application itself for a Humboldt Research Fellowship is from a technical or from a formal point of view, pretty straightforward. When it comes to the length of your planned stay in Germany, you can, as a postdoc, you can apply from 6 to 24 months. But this has now been changed. We have not changed it on our slides because it's not on our website yet, but it will be changed that you will also be able to split your stays in Germany also as a postdoc. So you can say, I will go to Germany 3 times. Each of my stay has to last at least 3 months. And as an experienced researcher, it has always been there's always also the option of splitting your research stay, or you say, I will go and stay 18 months. We hope that for postdocs now it's becoming a bit more flexible, that if you look for your family, or if you have other duties in your home countries, 3 months may be a bit more flexible than 6, and you can also spend. That's also a new that we also changed this, that you can now spend up to 25% of your fellowship either in your home country or elsewhere, or in working remotely. So you don't have to spend the entire fellowship in Germany anymore. But you have to, I'm happy to answer individual questions later. Hosting a fellowship, the host institute in Germany, that's also very important, of course, that he or she will support your proposal, and also issues both that they are very enthusiastic about the collaboration, and also will be able to provide everything needed for the successful performance of your proposal or of your project. Of course, that always depends on the discipline, what will be needed. Requirements, whereas, yeah, as you see in the experienced program line, we expect a clearly defined academic profile, and also, nonetheless, there is the formalities up to 4 years, okay, postdoc up to 12 years, experienced researchers, but within these time frames, we also look very much, or the selection committee and the expert reviewers about they consider the very individual career stage one is in. I think I already talked about how we consider career breaks. Well, I wouldn't call them career breaks, but periods in which obviously sometimes you couldn't produce publications as much as during if you start a family or if there's other. So this will all be taken into consideration. So applications in the fellowship programs can be submitted throughout the year. We don't have any cut-off deadlines. There's 3 selection committee meetings per year in the Humboldt Research Fellowship and the Georg Forster also. And we recommend to submit the application about 4 to 6 months before the targeted selection meeting. Because of course it always depends on the entire amount of applications we receive. Then my colleagues in the selection department, our colleagues, they will then check completeness, eligibility, completeness, and we do a in the advisory team, we also receive CVs, a list of publications, and we advise which program may fit best. But our colleagues also once again then of course check everything, and then the applications will be then my colleagues will request 2 independent peer reviews, and who are they are very close to your discipline, whereas the selection committee has scientists and scholars from almost 60 research fields, and they decide on the outcome of an application. And there's also family allowances, of course. A language course can be applied for before the start of the fellowship, usually at the Goethe Institute or somewhere close to the host institute. Study tours are organized, network meetings. Then, of course, it's always, we recommend really to take your time to find the most suitable host institute in Germany, and to really discuss what you would like to do with your prospective host. And if you are not sure yet, I mean, many of our applicants already do have contacts in Germany. I don't mean the applicants, but people who contact us, researchers who contact us, some of them or many of them already know where they would like to go, but some are not quite sure yet. So there's the Humboldt Network online tool on our website, and as well as the Eurexis Germany website. It also comprises a lot of practical information about visa application and everything. My colleagues in the sponsorship and network department, they also very much support, once the fellowship has been granted, they support, or they try their, and I know they do, but to support the preparation of the stay in Germany as individually as possible. And here you see that was between 2018 and 2022, where our guest researchers were coming from. Again, there's no quotas, it's just how what it looked like. Moving on to the award programs. As I already mentioned, there's the Humboldt Research Award by nomination for international eminent academics from abroad, and the Friedrich Wilhelm Bessel Research Award. The Alexander von Humboldt Fellowship, here nominations may be made by universities in Germany for exceptionally qualified world leaders in their fields who are established as academics abroad and who would like or who would be eligible to be appointed to a professorship in Germany. And who will also, to be integrated into the university's strategic plan. Yeah. There's also the research symposia that may also be interesting for you. Conferences in cooperation with foreign partner organizations. You're very welcome to get in touch if you feel like this could be something for you. And there is also Humboldt Live we set up a couple of years ago, and we integrated this into Alumni Portal Deutschland now, a platform to promote professional and personal exchange. Maybe you would like to have a look. And of course, you are very welcome to contact us at the advisory service here in Bonn. You will find all our contact details on our website, and you're very welcome also to arrange your personal advisory session via Teams in the next couple of days or weeks. Just drop us an email. You're very welcome. And yeah, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. Thank you.
Thank you, Julia, for this great overview. Really helpful. And I think my biggest takeaway is that it's not so much about, with Fulbright, there's an award catalog, and you have to look where your credentials and your work fits that award description, but it's really about your application, your proposal to collaborate with someone in Germany, and the merits and the potential for impact of that application and that proposal whatever it may be, which is phenomenal because, you know, that really opens up the opportunities for faculty from any field, from any background, which I think is wonderful. And the emphasis on sponsoring the person, the faculty member, not so much the project. I think that too is quite unique and a huge benefit to really support anyone who has important work to do out there. So thank you. Really, really helpful. I would like to invite now our three FIU Humboldtians to each give a short overview of where they went and when and to do what and how that has impacted your respective work that you are doing now. So maybe Wasim, we start with you, Professor Wasim Masiak from our College of Public Health and Social Work. Wasim?
Yes, thank you, and good morning, good afternoon to everybody. Very nice to see former Humboldtians and also the administrators in the Humboldt Foundation. So in brief, my actually experience with Humboldt was life-altering in the literal sense. Give you a very short overview. Now I'm a professor in epidemiology, and I was two-term chair of the epidemiology department here at FIU, but I have no formal training in epidemiology and I have no degree in epidemiology. I have only spent 2 years of postdoc at the Institute of Epidemiology and Social Medicine in University of Münster, Germany, and that qualified me for all my further career into this field. I was in Syria at the time when I applied to this program, so I applied for the George Forster program. It was 1999. I was a faculty in the Faculty of Medicine in Aleppo, and I loved research, but I saw no opportunity for research, so I tried everywhere, and the Humboldt was a good hit for me. To start with, I moved to Münster with my wife and little daughter. We spent a year and then got an extension for another year. And in Münster, in the Institute of Epidemiology, I got my first R1. So for those who are not in the field of health, this is the biggest individual grant, 5-year grant from the National Institute of Health. And I was under the Fogarty International Center, which funds foreign PIs. Very, very small institute, but I was one of the lucky ones. So I left Germany, went back to Syria, established a research institute, was funded by NIH, and then the Iraq War happened, and American-Syrian relation broke down, and I moved very quickly on the priority list for the Syrian security apparatus. So I escaped the country with my family, got an H-1 invitation to the US, the University of Memphis, where I collaborated with on my work with the R01. And after 4 years, moved to FIU, and since 2010, and I'm still here. Final fun note, my daughter, who's doing her PhD now at Imperial College in London, was at the Max Planck Institute at the University of Münster, the same university, last year. She did 2 years there as part of her doctoral program. And she lived on the same street, actually, that we lived on, Hooferstrasse, when we were in Münster. So here's the full circle. Thank you.
Thank you, Wasim. That's phenomenal. I mean, you know, your own academic work really got a boost, but then you also inspired your daughter, which I'm sure that is very pleasing to the Humboldt Foundation to hear that, you know, it had such a far-reaching impact, not just on you, but on your daughter as well. So congratulations. Thanks for sharing that. Whitney Bauman, Professor of Religious Studies. Go ahead, Whitney. What's your story? Your Humboldt story.
So my Humboldt, well, yeah, which one? I'll tell you the PG version. So I did a Humboldt from 2015 to 2017. It was supposed to originally be, I got a year sabbatical, and this was sort of part of that. And I did the language program in Leipzig for 3 months, and it was actually quite helpful. So that's another great benefit, is if you need you test into sort of which level that you need to start in and all that stuff. And if you need some extra help with the language, then it's actually a really great part of the Stiftung, the fellowship. Also, let's see, I did my, this was right after I got tenure. And so I had started to work on this project that involved Ernst Haeckel, of all people, who is a 19th century German scientist who was at the Schiller Universität in Jena, and the Haeckel House there with all of his archives and letters are there. But he was the German Darwin. Of the era, and he popularized evolution all over Europe, but also in the United States. And he basically thought evolution was going to be this new religion that replaced all other religions. And so that's kind of what I'm just now finishing, is the book project of this. So I'm actually, again, a full circle story. I'm going back to Jena at the end of March for a big sort of reinterpretation of Haeckel's legacy conference, and I'm going to be presenting on this book that's about to come out with Columbia University Press. So very exciting. This fellowship, I was able to, much to the maybe frustration of my dean and my chair, I was able to extend it for another year. So I got 2 years away from FIU to help work on this project, which was awesome. I had a great experience with my host there. It was actually interesting because the original host that sponsored me actually passed away about 6 months before I got there, and the people in the office really rallied to take care of me in his absence. So I actually had a great experience there. I'm still in contact with a lot of the scholars that work there. Again, I'll be going back there in this month. The support from the foundation in terms of also working out the relocation and the visa it was all very, very helpful in terms of how to figure out the visa and the bank account and all these sorts of things. So they're really good at helping you relocate with all the logistics surrounding that. So yeah, I'd be happy to answer. I also sort of was able to give it wasn't just about this project. Again, it was about connecting with lots of different people. So I've been invited several times because of this all over Germany and other places in Europe to give lectures and stuff. So it's really increased my international sort of scholarly academic community, which has been awesome. So I'll stop rambling, but if there are any questions, just let me know.
No rambling at all, Whitney. Fantastic to hear, from the language learning, and I'll test you over lunch today, how, advanced your German skills are, and to your continued work, from your collaboration that Humboldt has facilitated so wonderfully. So thank you for sharing that. And I'm inviting Dr. Jörg Reinhold from physics to talk about his experience with Humboldt. Jörg, please go ahead.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, I'm an example of the Theodor Lünen Fellowship. So I'm an experimental nuclear physicist. I got my PhD in January '95 from the Technical University in Munich, and then plan was to go for 2 years to the United States to do research there. And I had learned about a brand new accelerator that was built in Newport News, Virginia, an electron accelerator, and I wanted to take part in that. And I figured out there's a group, very active group at Argonne National Lab in Chicago that was working on projects there. And I knew people at Argonne. We had very good connections to that lab. So I called up the director and said, I want to come to Chicago and join the medium energy for this group. And I need to find a Humboldt fellow because I want to apply for the Theodor Lünen Fellowship. So the director got me in contact with Ben Seidman, who became my host and mentor there. I called him up and he was willing to sponsor me. And so I applied for the Theodor Lünen Fellowship, and I was awarded a Theodor Lünen Fellowship for, at that point it worked like the idea was to go for 2 years, but they awarded first for 1 year and then extended for another year. And how this worked is that the host, so the most of my salary there was covered by the Feodolun program. The lab was supposed to cover 25% of my salary in the first year and 50% in the second year. The lab went a little bit more generous. They covered 30% the first year and 60% the following year. So I packed 2 suitcases. I flew to Chicago for 2 years. And then after the 2 years, my Feodolun fellowship had run out. The lab asked me whether I wanted to stay for another year. So they funded me 100% for the 3rd year. And then I got a faculty position here at FIU. For me, this was sort of career defining because my mentor, once I arrived, essentially he had a few projects that he was a spokesperson on at Jefferson Lab, and he made me right away a co-spokesperson and let me run the experiments there, which gave me the exposure in the field here, in the community here, to actually be successful to apply for a faculty position sort of 3.5 years, about 3.5 years later, I started here at FIU, which would be very early for someone who just had his PhD in Germany to get a faculty position in Germany, essentially next to impossible. So it was I had a very great experience, and also thanks to a great mentor that I had, this was a career-defining move for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Jörg. Really appreciate that. It's quite fabulous how all 3 of you have a different kind of story and how things came into place, and Humboldt again facilitated this to make it happen. So thank you for that. I'm wondering, Julia, Christian, do you have any follow-up thoughts or responses to our 3 Humboldtians? Are these typical stories? Are not so typical stories? Anything that might be different, since Jörg and Wasim did this in the 90s, Whitney did this not that long ago, about 8 years ago. Any comment?
Christian, willst du, oder? I can say something, of course. First of all, I think it's very, if I understood rightly, both Whitney and Wasim are now have been based or have been living in Germany. So of course, it's very. I suppose it's a good sign that through the Humboldt support, I don't know if you went to Germany before, but that this seems to have been a good cooperation or a good start into that we were able to support you in the way that you hoped for, and that you had good experiences.
Career
it's
and
really great. One thing,
life-changing, right?
exactly. And I spend, like I said, we have I spend about half the year in Berlin, if not more. And one of the things that's happened as a result of the Humboldt that I didn't mention is that I've started with a colleague who lives in Berlin but works at Groningen, University of Groningen. But he lives in Berlin, and we started a whole nonprofit organization called Counterpoint, which is based upon trying to get academic ideas into a wider public. So that's another thing that was sort of a spinoff as a result of being a Humboldtian. So
Yeah, thank you. Christian, I want to pick on you. Any additional comments on the prize awards where someone needs to be nominated rather than applying themselves?
I'm not pretty sure if I have something to add on Julia's information, because the award programs are very special, and you have to be a very outstanding scientists with a worldwide reputation. So maybe if you have some questions, please feel free to ask them now, or maybe later on, because then we can look to your individual case if it makes sense that you will look for a person who will nominate you in Germany. Mostly the persons who will nominate you will contact you by and then you will find out if there is a possibility to be nominated. So do we have questions? You're welcome to ask if, but you can also contact me after this session, and I will try to answer it then.
Right. So I see a question in the chat that came from, I hope I'm saying this right, Shishun Shi. Where should I find out whether a professor is able to be host? So what I understood is that as long as the host is willing, or the professor in Germany is willing to host and commits to that in, I guess, a letter of invitation, sort of, then that's what it takes for someone to serve as host. Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct, yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If you will write us an email, we can give you some links where you can search for hosts, but maybe you know some hosts in Germany, and the best way is to contact them directly and speak to them. Try to bring your research outline and introduce it to them. So I think, and then they will. I'm sure that they will say if they are compatible to this research outline or not. But we can give you some links for the searching process.
So Christian and Julia, would you say that it's for the host institution a prestigious award to host someone, let's say from the United States, as a Humboldt visitor to their institution? So if, let's say, Sichon would approach a collaborator in Germany, would they say, I may have never done this, or our institution may have never done this, but it is a prestigious academic endeavor to host a Humboldt guest? Would you say that's true?
What I think definitely, yes. There is, we have been observing that sometimes smaller departments or departments which have not yet been very internationally before, they invited or they got into touch with someone, and then they had someone who like they had one Humboldt fellow choosing their institute, and all of a sudden, like a domino effect, we say in German, all of a sudden certain sort of people got into touch, and then the international office invited or organized a Humboldt reception. They invited this Humboldt fellow and others from neighboring universities or neighboring institutes, and so a lot of universities are really both professionally but also personally also inspired, I think, very much by them. So
yeah,
I would
thank
say,
you, Julia. Whitney, you have
maybe.
Oh, sorry.
There.
Go ahead, Christian.
Sorry. There is another question who's frequently asked. Scientists who will be your hosts must not be members of the Humboldt network. So it can be every scientist in Germany who is affiliated to a university or a German institution, like Julia told us before.
Sounds good. Great. Thank you. Whitney, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's my experience of reaching out cold to the people at the Heckle House is really good. And they were really excited about it. And also they also get like some funding if they get a Humboldt fellow there. So the department gets funding. So it's not like they're just doing a huge favor, right? They're also getting a little bit of remuneration for hosting. So
yeah,
don't feel bad about it reaching out, as I'm saying.
Great. Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, can I?
Please go ahead.
Yeah, my question is, I already had a chat that was more internal, and Whitney and someone else answered that. That's understandable. But my question is to you, Julia and Christian. Is there any internal, let's call it latent benchmarking between the University of Applied Sciences in Germany, like let's say in Hamburg, the Hamburg Hafen City, which is a University of Applied Science, versus a university like Fachhochschule versus Universitäten, like we have it here with the Ivy League, and or is it
I think that's a good question, Thomas, right? Is any institution eligible to receive a Humboldt Fellow?
Yes, it is. Maybe I repeat this, that it's very important that you find a host who match to your work, to your scientific work, and we don't make a difference between these universities. Of course, it helps if you find a host who's on a university who will match your field very well. So that's what you add as an example with Hamburg. So that's better if you go to university where your field is not that strong. So, but you can choose every university or Fachhochschule in Germany as well. Yeah.
Thank you, Christian. And what about mixing? Like mixing, having 2 or 3 universities in one city? Because as you know, German public transportation is 50 years ahead compared to Miami. And for many, it's free too. So can I mix it?
What do you mean exactly with mixing?
Yeah, mixing is, if you, I'm an architect, so I know scientists and experts at different universities worldwide. And if I talk about Germany, there's not one just in Hamburg or in Berlin. There are a couple of them, and they're all network. So can I mix universities, or is that too much bureaucracy?
You have the opportunity to choose 2 hosts. So if you have this mixing thing, you can choose another hosts, and so yeah, they can be on different institutes, but also on the same institutes. But I think our fellowships are not prepared to go to move every month to another city. That will not work.
Yeah, my question was particular based on being in one city.
Yeah.
Since public transportation is so successful and easy and accessible compared to here. But I assume there's maybe some bureaucracy involved in filling out the forms, right? Who's responsible for what, and break it down, and then it might go nowhere or takes too long. Is that the case or not?
Yeah.
You can have experience with this?
Yeah, you can, in your research proposal, you may of course include collaborations or describe where you would like to be when, but you need to choose, yeah, up to, that's right, up to 2 official host institutes, because they issue then that they will support you. But collaborations, if I understood you rightly, and I assume it comes with your with you being an architect, that there is flexibility involved. But yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
But maybe you yeah.
Yeah, that helps. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
I think again the focus is the merit and the potential for impact, right? If you make the case that you need 2 partners on the to collaborate on your project to make this the most effective and most productive, I guess then you need to present that case. And I think it would be interesting to know if other fellows have done that, where they have received an award to collaborate with 2 institutions in the same, or across Germany, I guess. Maybe
that happens all the time.
It does. Okay.
Yeah, that's quite common.
Great.
I think it's also it also helps them to be efficient, because if one doesn't move the way you scheduled success, you can always replace, or you go to someone else.
Yeah.
I'm just talking about efficiency, because sometimes colleagues are not that fast as you think they are.
Yeah. So we're at 11 o'clock, and I see we have one more question in the chat for Ji-Hyun, or from Ji-Hyun. Maybe Julia or Christian, you can answer that. And I see Jörg had his hand raised, and now I don't see him anymore. So Ji-Hyun is an international student here at FIU and would want to apply for a Humboldt Award. What are the restrictions or requirements in terms of citizenship?
I'm not sure if we can answer this question without more information. So maybe you can explain it a little bit more.
Would you like to apply for a fellowship or
for
other?
So I suppose Ji-Hyun is pursuing her doctorates here at FIU and is from a different country. I know there are some geographic restrictions for some awards where you can only be from a developing country or from from a certain number of specific countries. I think, Ji-Hyun, you would have to look specifically for each award. What are the requirements? Okay, so you're postdoc, you're Chinese, but you have a US green card. Okay.
It's not a problem when it comes to a Humboldt fellowship, as long as you are based outside Germany. That's the citizenship is not relevant in this fellowship, so it's all possible.
Yeah, I think here again, the key is the award is made to the person, right? To fund the person. It's not an institutional award. It's not a project. Wherever this person moves, doesn't matter. The award follows the person. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. And but if you're unsure, you are free to send us your CV so we can check it double. So, but Julia is absolutely right. If you are Chinese and a US green card holder, there's no problem for your eligibility for applying for the Humboldt Research Fellowship.
Great, thank you. All right.
May I intervene, Cheetah? I think that's not quite the case at FIU, because we are not allowed to do anything with Chinese institutions. We cannot have Chinese doctorates coming to FIU in person. We cannot participate at Chinese universities. I think the student wants to know something like that. If FIU is involved with these laws we have, that we cannot involve Chinese students, then we should give here a straight answer, because Germany does not have this kind of restrictions.
We doesn't have this kind of restrictions. If you're a Chinese with the Chinese nationality, there's no problem to apply for our fellowships.
Okay.
Yeah, Thomas, I know what you mean, but Zichun is at FIU as a postdoc at this moment, right? If I saw this correctly, and I'm sure there's awareness of what can and can't be done, and this is of course an award from Germany for this individual. So I know there's a lot of complications. And before we started the session, by the way, Julia and Christian and we had a conversation about what we consider foreign countries of concern here in Florida. There's a lot of similar dynamics actually in Germany. So, but I think we can navigate that in every particular case. So, okay, it is 11:06. I would like to conclude this information session. We have gone over a little bit, although I found it absolutely fascinating, and I'm really grateful to Julia and Christian for joining us from Germany and sharing this information, and also, of course, their contact information. So if you have specific questions, please don't hesitate following up with Julia or Christian. And I also want to thank Whitney, Vasim, and Jörg. I think Jörg probably already rushed off to teach a class, a physics class. Thank you so much for your insights and sharing your personal accounts. It's much appreciated. And thanks to all of those who came as participants to learn about Humboldt. Do share this with friends and colleagues. We will share, of course, the recording and the slides with everybody who had registered for this session, so nobody misses out. So once again, thank you very much. Greetings to Germany. And I will stop the recording now so we can still chat.
Thank you.
Thank you.